We are at a defining moment in reimagining education. Today, we seek to harness this moment so that refugee and displaced learners are meaningfully included in and prosper from this connected era. As the world turned to digitally supported education during COVID-19 pandemic, the vast majority of forcibly displaced learners and their host communities have been left out. The pandemic has proven the potential of digital learning to serve as a tool to support learning and provide options for reaching learners at scale, but is also leaving refugees and displaced learners digitally divided from their peers and from the world. Today, we have the honor of hearing from Ms. Jessie Enga, Ms. Noor Maaz, and Ms. Alex Himbaza, all highly accomplished refugee youth advocates, on their perspectives on the importance of digital inclusion, and together with partners will launch the Refugee Connected Education Challenge. My role ends here actually by welcoming you and wishing you a fruitful discussion. And on this note, I would like to hand the floor to my colleague, Jacqueline Strecker, to take it from here. I wish you a wonderful session. Thank you very much. My name is Khaled Khalifa from UNHCR.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So we're very excited to have all of you join us today. And to kick us off, I'm going to play a small video to help emphasize what we're all here to discuss.
When the pandemic forced us into lockdown, digital tools enabled millions to continue learning. Even as schools have started to reopen, digital learning looks set to stay. For some learners, this creates a new kind of challenge. Refugee communities often lack access to the tools and skills required to make use of digital learning opportunities. UNHCR estimates that 78% of school-aged refugees had limited to no access to learning during COVID-related school closures. Despite efforts to extend reach, the lack of infrastructure in remote areas and the costs of devices and going online combine to broaden the digital gap for refugees. This situation will only get worse if no action is taken. That's why we are launching the Refugee Connected Education Challenge, to help secure concrete commitments to ensure refugees' digital inclusion. As actors in education join forces to mitigate the effects of the pandemic and make the best use of digital learning, it is vital that refugees are included in these efforts. Schools that host refugees and other displaced learners play a key role here. They need to be prioritized in global, national, and regional digital education and connectivity efforts. Concrete pledges to realize this vision could, for instance, include governments or tech companies committing a percentage of all technology rollouts to schools hosting refugees, mobile operators providing free connectivity to refugee hosting communities and learning centers, or donors providing funding for digital learning programs geared towards the digital inclusion of refugees and host communities. Equipping refugees with the skills they need to succeed in a digitized world means enabling them to access quality education with the help of digital tools. The time to act is now. Sign up to the Refugee Connected Education Challenge and help refugees access quality learning with your commitment.
Round of applause, please. Great. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Rebecca Telford, who is going to share a little bit about a recent report that we've put out, really contextualizing the challenges that refugees are facing.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here. I think we're very excited, at this incredible conference, and also recognizing the other things which have been discussed around rewiring education, getting education out to all. It's really important that we collectively think about new modalities and about refugees and leaving no one behind. So today, UNHCR is publishing a new report, Connected Education for Refugees, Addressing the Digital Divide. This is a report. I like actual paper things. I'm old. I like to write in them, so you're welcome. You can also find a business card on your seat, and this has a link to the report, so you can go and you can find it. Please do go and find it, download it, read it, and then think about how to use it. Think about how to action it, how to build it into the work that you do, the alliances that you're part of, and the commitments that we can make collectively to refugees to move forward. So, what does the report say? It really looks at analysing what's happened. I think we've struggled a little bit with the evidence base, with knowing really what's going on the ground, and knowing what we can do to improve the situation. The pandemic has fueled an increase in innovation. I think there's been some very exciting things and some very rapid movements, but it's also highlighted an increasing digital divide. And so the report really looks to understand the impact on refugees, what that divide looks like, and how we can go about bridging it. COVID has exacerbated pre-existing inequalities. We knew that there was a global already. We knew that refugees are being left behind, they're less likely to enroll in school, and the further up in the education pathway you go towards secondary and tertiary, the greater those divides are, and they're being exacerbated by what happens. They're also risking offsetting prior educational gains. I think, collectively we've done a huge amount of work, but there's a huge risk that there's going to be a backslide. COVID disrupted education for all learners. 1.5 billion children were affected by school closures, and we all know that. But for refugees who very often don't have access to things like community support, who might be in more rural areas, who might not have access to kind of technology that you would expect to have at home, they've been really left further behind. The report shows that refugee learners lost an average of 142 days of schooling from the onset of the pandemic. That is so significant. We were already in a global learning crisis. When we think about learning loss and the ability to catch up, we should collectively be putting our minds towards thinking about how we can do that. In some big refugee hosting countries like Uganda, schools are still closed, right? Those schools have been closed for 2 years. You've got 3 million children in total about to join primary 1. What's the plan? What are we doing? The pandemic has seen digital learning solutions be scaled very rapidly. But looking at that continuity of learning during school closures and understanding what actually happened is a really critical part when we think about how refugees were left out. UNHCR focuses a lot on the inclusion of refugees into national systems. And a lot of national systems actually were able to respond really quickly. We heard Minister Senge from Sierra Leone yesterday talking about learning from Ebola, how rapidly they were able to have even just education on radio. So almost as soon as schools were closed, refugees and other students were able to listen to the radio. But even within those effective systems, where refugees might be less likely to have access to devices, less likely to speak potentially national languages, they might be further away. In Kenya, we found things like radio signals don't reach certain parts of the camps. So even something as simple where you think of kind of low-tech solutions, they don't necessarily get to the people who need them most. What we're talking about today is also the need to then rapidly scale some of those investments, to recognize the pieces where certain groups of people have been left out, and to make targeted investments to ensure that the learning crisis doesn't continue for them, that they're able to come back to school and have all of the protection benefits and all of that meaningful engagement in building their own futures that only education can bring. I think the fourth thing that we'll find in the report is that UNHCR and partners understood these things during the pandemic, and we really had to go to additional lengths to kind of extend the reach, both of national systems and of supporting communities to benefit from continuous learning. One of the things that we also found, though, was, again, the resilience of refugee populations and the extent to which people are there delivering their own solutions. Even at the point where we were starting to work out, what is going on, and the pandemic affected all of us, as you know. Right, I have kids, I work in education technology, my kids suffered. I'm a horrible teacher. Imagine what that's like if your parents struggle to support you, there's a lot of people in your home, if you don't have access to the materials. And so UNHCR and partners really tried to work in those situations, but it was the refugee communities themselves who were there first, who will be there last, who were coming up with their own solutions and were able to deliver very, very rapidly. But building on that, the report also looks at the other things that worked. So some of those were around community radio. That's been very effective. Looking at e-learning platforms. I mean, for people who are in the last session, we talked with someone from Learning Equality. How do you actually get digital content to people? Not just that which is made by national governments, which is excellent, which is aligned to the curriculum, which is very accessible, but with things where it's remedial support, wraparound support, you know, local languages, things which are more familiar, and how do we curate those in a way which is really meaningful? Looking at also using social media channels, I think, you know, within EdTech, we think a lot about using what's there, right? So looking at WhatsApp, looking at messaging platforms, the different things that people already use and putting into play additional bits of content or support to help them use it. And the final thing I want to say, which I think won't be surprising to anyone, is that the extent of the digital divide in the report really highlights the urgency and the importance of acting now. We're already, you know, in the learning crisis. We've had this huge loss of learning. We really don't have time to waste. We have to be thinking about how to understand the solutions which are there, the things which are working, how to scale them, and how to do it rapidly. So that is all I want to say, but hopefully that reminds us why we're here, launching this challenge. Do go and have a look at the report, think about it, get in touch with us, and we look forward to engaging with you further. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Becky. And I'm going to invite up onto the stage our youth advocates. Please come and join me. Big round of applause. So we're going to jump right in, and I want you to have the opportunity to hear from each of the youth advocates just how important digital learning and connectivity has been within their personal experiences. And so I wonder, Jessie, can we start with you? Can you tell us a bit about yourself, and maybe what was your first experience with digital learning?
Thank you, Jackie, for having me here today. I'm really happy to be invited and at least share something about myself with everyone. My name is Jessie, and I'm a Congolese refugee living in Kenya, Kakuma refugee camp. And I'm happy to say that I'm an alumni of MIT React program, that I did computer and data science. And my first experience with digital learning happened with a 3-day training that happened in 2016. I come from a country where we speak French, and I arrived in Kakuma with my background French that could not really serve me, kind of. And I've seen that the only thing that could assist me was somehow when I was exposed to the tech, the digital learning program. It was like my base of everything, and when I could be able to learn something, create something, after that, applications, and I was able to attend, like, see that there is like, informal education where I could specialize in something with free platforms and be able at least to help others with the passion. It has been like a while learning and sharing with others, and it has been a nice experience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jessie. And Alex, could we go to you? Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what was your first experience with technology and digital learning?
Thank you. Ngaramutse is in my language. Good morning. My name is Alex Marie Himbaza. I'm from Burundi, lived in Rwanda as a refugee. And my first experience with digital learning, actually I didn't know that I was digitally learning, because you know, as a teenager or a younger, it's like, okay, this Facebook was really like getting into youth and young people. And my mother could just be there and ask her, like, can I get, sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. And like my mother would ask her, can I get some 500 Burundian friends? And then I go to a cyber cafe. So I could know where to on the button and to use the typing and like, okay, this is how I write hi and this thing. So after thinking a while, I saw that I had like my first experience with that. You are worried with that, I didn't know. So yeah, that's how I really got in touch with the learning.
Thank you. Yeah. And I must say that Some of my digital skills I learned also through trying to converse with my friends when I was learning how to type extra quickly many years ago, if anyone recalls the platform ICQ, that predates me. You know, that's where I developed some of my first digital skills too, that have then helped me out in my life.
Yeah.
So, Noor, let's go to you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and also how digital learning and access to connectivity has helped you within your life?
Yeah, sure. I hope you can hear me well. I'm Noor, and I'm originally from Syria. I used to live in Lebanon as a refugee for 7 years, and now I'm in Turkey. Actually, my first access to higher education was through SNHU, and it's basically a blended learning model, competency-based, and through it, refugees can access higher education digitally through digital platforms. And it's basically just changed my life completely, because look where I'm here today. It just helped me to just overcome all the limitation that I had because of the status, the refugee status that I didn't choose even. I just woke up one day and I'm a refugee. It just helped me to just overcome all the all the limitations that I had, whether to access the higher education, whether it's because the legal documentation, the finance situation, or even like because some political reasons. It's helped me just to access the higher education. Now I can learn, I can help others, I can work actually, and that's what I'm doing. I'm working with Sherif also, which is a company based in San Francisco, digitally online, and we are helping more refugees to access this. And also I can travel, so you can see that I'm doing what others also doing. I just get rid of from the status as a refugee, and that's also because of the opportunity that SNHU and GEM helped me to access the higher education and have this opportunity to show my potentials and help others as well. So basically, I just wanted to say that if we want to change our lives, yes, we can. We have to put our effort, we have to search about opportunities, but first we have to find these opportunities, and that's why we have to invest in opportunities such as SNHU and GEM, who are helping not only the refugees, but also the host communities to have access to higher education through digital learning. And if you don't see me or Alex as well as Jesse as an example or product to invest in the digital learning, you can see that COVID-19 will prove this. We are really have to invest in the digital learning and great models and quality education like SNHU to help others to access the education. Yeah.
Wonderful,
Good.
Thank you, Noor.
Yeah.
And I wonder, Alex, you're also an alumni from SNHU, so can you pick up on that a little bit and tell us more about how specifically digital learning has helped you in your life?
Yes, I'm proud to say that I'm a Southern New Hampshire University graduate. We're talking about new, and some people might not know what it is. And I'm actually an ongoing production because I'm not done yet with education, just one point. So I would really try to ask you to close your eyes for a bit. I'm going to tell a story. Close your eyes. Think you are in a dark place. You see one white door, quite very far from you, and there is a long line of people. The door is written on access to higher education. Now you have two hearts. Should I leave the line? Because there are so many people who have documents. There are so many people who have money. So many people who see are going to enter. But you can also decide to stay on the line with the hope that you will be accepted if you tell a story of being a refugee, that maybe they might understand why you don't have all documents. Maybe you don't have the financial sustainability or something to help you. But you only have the willingness to be a student, and you're willing to learn. So you can open now your eyes. The decision I made, I was on that line. I said, yes, I want to learn, but how? And then Southern New Hampshire University scholarship, I heard it how? From a friend. I didn't know that at the last time, the moment, I had to apply online to get all this. The good thing that I didn't have all documents, yes, the reports, the criteria, but I was good at least the English to type. If you were someone to be like here in front of you, what will you say? I just typed anything like, please, 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 I need this chance to. I got access because I was in urban area. I got access to a cyber place. I went running there. I got connectivity. I applied, but it was at last time. I got, luckily, that's why I'm here as a graduate. I got access, even if I didn't have some documents. How? Because I got to take picture. I asked my people like in Burundi, can you please go to and get the reports, and they take a picture and I just sent. So they were flexible. Flexibility supported me to access higher learning with this access to internet. Then now, I'm here as communication officer. I'm working with Hepatite International as communications officer, using the skills I learned through online learning, through like getting connection and the tools. So, but it's not for all refugees who got the same luck as me. That's why I'm sitting here to actually like request and advocate for others. Well, they also having this hope, where they're also thinking that they will get access to higher education. Because I got the willingness to fight. And then others might feel like, oh, no, I don't speak that English. I don't know if I would be successful. And I think here we are the result of higher education, access to higher connectivity. I think Jessie can go. Yeah.
So maybe, Jessie, I'm going to ask you to pick up on that, because I think Alex made some really good points there in terms of also how, and SNU, the program is a blended learning program. So it's a program not only that you had to apply to access through the use of technology, but also needed to have the tools, so the digital resources, the skills, the connectivity to also help you to study. But as you noted, you were lucky to be in an urban context. We know in many other contexts, particularly in rural and low resource environments, we don't have that level of connectivity or those infrastructures.
Definitely.
So Jessie, could I go to you? Why do you think investments are needed to scale connectivity and digital learning so that refugee communities can be digitally included?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Jackie. Most of the time I say that I'm somehow like a product of digital learning, because as I said before, I came from a country where I speak French, and the system could not really accommodate me applying for different scholarship and just like getting negative feedback kind of. But with tech, I was able to learn online because at least I had access to internet and access to a tablet. I could go to different free online platforms, like let's say University of YouTube. I don't know if participate in another session that they say YouTube was somehow something that helped me to learn the skill that I have today. Today, I facilitate with the integration of technology in education in Kakuma refugee camp, where we train teachers, I train other youth, we organize boot camps and everything. And that thing happened because I have access to something that could allow me to learn online and navigate through different opportunities. The thing that I went through, the access that I got is not that everyone has access to it, as Alex said, because these ones are really limited and everything. And I could just say, we want it to be scaled up because we live like the countries that are hosting us, they are our home. And we want to be part of that and also contribute to the economy, contribute to like at least be able to work, have access to work, have access to education and everything that will assist us, like something like that. And I can also say that it's not just only because we can request for technology, we want internet, we want this, but the thing doesn't just happen like that, because people, they need skill to manage those resources. It means whenever we come with resources like technology, we need to also know how we can train the people on the ground, refugees, because some of us, we don't really know. Okay, I know because I train people. You find someone with 25 years old, I've never know how to even switch on a laptop. And we need to train that person on how to use it and how to access opportunities that are out there, because technology is bridging the gap between the people who are isolated in this area and the opportunity that are out there. It's just, we just need that, I call it in French, pont, maybe say a bridge, kind of, because it's the only thing that can assist us to do, go to further place and also have hope that we can have access to different things.
It's like also something to highlight that is there through education that we heal, because it's a shift that we have faced from one system to another system of learning. So if you are around with other national students, international students, and you get the same quality education, you got healed. So you feel like, oh wow, okay, I'm actually treated as everyone, because being called refugee sometimes is like taken as like we're not qualified, and it's just a paper. It's like a status. It's not you. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. No, I think that's a very valuable point, and you can see all of them nodding, because I think they all agree, and I hope all of you do too, that we know no one chooses to be a refugee, and it's a status and not what defines you. And I think you can all join me in thanking our incredible panel and being just such an example of what can happen when you really do invest in digital learning opportunities for refugees. So a big round of applause for this incredible panel. So I'll ask you guys to stay here, but it's with that we want to challenge all of you to join us in this Refugee Connected Education Challenge. And so we really want the opportunity for everyone to be involved in this process.
Kind of. So, for my side, I would like to add everyone in this room and even out there that an urgent, we must act to solve this, this bridge that exists between the digital divide that exists between the refugee learners, the displaced learners, and their peers out there. We know that it has noticed that high school, like school that hosts refugees, they just miss the right resources, skills, and knowledge that could assist people on the ground to be able to, thrive and even increase to have a meaningful participation, because digital learning is quite missing technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we note that COVID has served as a catalyst in and around really mobilizing additional resources, both globally and nationally, to build on the digital initiatives that were started when schools closed. But we know that if these investments aren't designed to include low resource contexts and refugee and displaced communities from the onset, that we will actually widen the digital divide and not narrow it.
Yeah. And I just want to mention that refugees have to be part of digital learning or any model for the higher education, because actually they are part of the society nowadays. They are part of the host communities, and unfortunately the number of refugees are now increasing, so we really have to include them to make them contribute to the success of the host country that they are in.
I think as we were even attending some sessions, and more people are willing to give for a good future, because they are relying on us who made it, and also you are sitting here to make an effort and invest in us. We are the youth, we are the future leaders. Yeah, thank you.
And as a refugee youth myself, I can call upon all actors. We need to work together and see if we can be able to bridge this gap and at least make digital learning possible even for us. It is said that we are here to, we don't want anyone to be left behind. And can we really do?
So just to add on to that, our goal is to ensure that refugee hosting schools and communities are meaningfully included in all of the digital learning and connectivity investments that are being planned here at Rewired and going forward with the goals towards 2030. And so we hope you guys will join us in doing that process. I'll invite our panelists to take a seat. And yes, please, big round of applause. So just, yes, Jessie, you wanted to add?
Making goals and decisions, they need someone to be smart. And this one, I would like to ask the people who are going to make their commitment, at least can we have it like a little bit clear and measurable so that we know that we need to achieve a goal and at least to be specific in what we'll be doing. Like myself, I train people, that's what I can be able to achieve, at least for now, I can be able to give that one. And I know that only my hand cannot really do that, but with the help of each and everyone, people donating, with tablets, let's say technology, access to internet, at least we can also have this one from you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So strong advocates there, and I think that point that Jessie just noted is really important. Aligned with the spirit of the Global Compact on refugees, we note that commitments to this challenge can be a mixture of things, from financial to technical to in-kind. And so again, we really invite you to join with us, make, as Jessie said, a smart, so a very clear and conscious choice to include refugees within your connectivity and digital learning investments, and actually articulate a goal. So will that be a certain percentage of all of your rollouts actually target refugee hosting schools? And maybe extending that goal so at each phase of the rollout, not just at the end of a program, we have these schools meaningfully included. So I'm now going to, hopefully if technology goes,
good evening.
hear from some of our supporters to date.
We at Profuturo are proud supporters of the Refugee Connected Education Challenge to bridge the education and digital gap of refugee children and their host communities. COVID-19 has accelerated what we have been working for 5 years. In 2016, Telefónica Foundation and La Caixa Foundation joined forces and launched Profuturo, a digital education program whose mission is to narrow the education and digital gap, developing skills in teachers and learners, and introducing innovative methodologies and technology in the classroom. In these 5 years, Profuturo is working in 40 countries, reaching 914,000 teachers and more than 19 million children. And we didn't do it by ourselves. Public-private partnerships are the key of our success. With a network of more than 50 global and local partners, we have built strong relationships to work towards innovations in the school and bring the teachers the right skills to face the actual challenges that COVID-19 had put in place. Refugee and host communities are part of our work. We have expanded our national programs to also serve refugee communities in Lebanon, Malawi, Jordan, Tanzania, and Rwanda. And we are planning to do the same within Nigeria and Zimbabwe in the following years. In 2022, we are planning to benefit around 80,000 refugee children and their host communities. We are right now in a technological revolution. Devices and connectivity are important, but not enough. We need to introduce these two elements in the schools. For this, the teachers need to develop innovative and digital competencies to introduce technology in their classroom planning and teach the children how to use technology in the right way to reach all its potential. For this purpose, governments, NGOs, private sector, and UN agencies need to join forces. It's the time to act all together. As Profuturo sets up our efforts to include refugee within our global digital learning programs, we call on other partners and governments to do the same thing. Thank you.
Hello everyone. At Education Cannot Wait, we fully support UNHCR's Connectivity Challenge, and we would like to thank our colleagues also in Dubai Cares and UNICEF and others who have been supporting UNHCR to ensure that every refugee and internally displaced person has access and is connected to digital learning and technology. We've seen that through COVID-19, the importance of ensuring connectivity. And you can count on Education Cannot Wait to continuously support you through 3 points. Number one, we will stay engaged with all of you, working with our advocacy and communication teams to ensure that the world knows about the needs and to mobilize the resources required. 2, we will also ensure that all our programs are mindful of and proactively supports connectivity for refugees and other forcibly displaced populations. And 3rd, we'll support innovation through our acceleration facility to ensure that there can be education on the move through connectivity. Refugees and internally displaced are those left furthest behind, and they are the ones who are on the move, and they are the ones who needs the prioritization to access connectivity, digital learning, and technology. And you can count on Education Cannot Wait to be all the way behind you. And we also appeal to all our government strategic donor partners as well as private sector. Please do fund the connectivity challenge and effort established by colleagues such as UNHCR, supported by the ViCares, UNICEF, and fully sponsored by Education Cannot Wait. We need you, and we need you now. Thank you.
So a big round of applause for the different supporters. And again, I want to note there that we very much appreciate those that we featured today, along with our partners at UNICEF and Dubai Cares for all of their support with this challenge. And as we noted, we're looking to engage many other actors in thinking through how we can make concrete commitments. We want to set ourselves a goal of, in 2 years' time, when the next Global Refugee Forum will happen in 2023, that we can show the progress that we've made since this Rewired challenge and show how more refugees, displaced communities have been digitally included because of the efforts we have here today. So if you'd like to join us, please visit our website. It's on the business cards that you have as well, where you can find the report. We invite you to join us. We will be having a series of action group meetings to pull together collective and coherent action within this space. So thank you very much for joining us today and for everyone joining online. And we look forward to working with you over the next coming years. Thank you.